Hello and welcome to another episode of A Ghost in the Magazine. I'm Steph.
I'm Mel.
I'm Sadie.
And we're rounding out Black History Month, finally talking about Talk to Me, a certified A24 banger, okay? I don't care what the internet says. But seriously, the internet has had some wild opinions about this movie. I think the wildest opinion is that it's not good. Who raised you?
Right. I, as a person who doesn't watch a lot of horror movies and really only does it for this podcast, I would say I would probably watch this again. Like, I liked it. It was really good.
Initial thoughts, Mel?
I liked it. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm in agreement.
Mhm.
Um, this one wasn't one we were gonna trash too much because I liked it. It had some things that I didn't like about it, but when I think about it, I'm like, but you know what? Those might have been in the decisions I made too. I feel like the main character was annoying. I
Yes,
wouldn't want her friend. I wouldn't, but
agreed. I think that that's a very important point here to make because I've been in the trenches in the horror community defending this movie every time I see somebody with a dissenting opinion. The most important thing about this movie is that I do not believe that Mia was intended to be likable. And I think it's a very interesting choice to make your main character like kind of a bitch. So and still have
Yeah.
the movie be good. Okay.
Right. Yeah, because like introducing her, I get that you've been through some stuff with like your mom dying and or whatever the case may be, but like I feel like you might have been insufferable before that, and this just made you worse.
This
Um,
gave her a pass.
reason. Yeah, I gave her like a pass. But yeah, I thought that was interesting too because it's like as much as I didn't like her as a person in general, like I still wanted to see the movie play out. Like
Yeah,
normally when I don't like a main character, I'm like I don't
fuck up,
care.
killer.
But this one made me be like, well, what happens? Is she gonna be redeemed, or is this sort of like a you reap what you sow kind of story? And it ended up being the latter, which is fine. And it was interesting. And it didn't make me like her more as the movie
No,
progressed. It made me like her less and less as they kept going. But I get that. I feel like that was the point.
I definitely do. So I really want to if you're watching this episode as opposed to listening to it, we've chosen some very like interesting photos for this movie. This movie was very visually appealing. I want to start by talking about the possessed look in this movie. It was one
Mhm.
of the things that immediately I loved about this movie because I feel like there is a formula. It's something that, I don't fuck with possession movies like that. They scare me. And one of
Mhm.
the biggest things, like especially in Evil Dead, the eyes, the possessed eyes, literally I feel like they're looking at my soul and thinking of ways to like end me on a repeated loop of my own personal hell, and it scares me. And this was very unique. The possessed had big black eyes, and you just
Mhm.
see like a little bit of white, and it was immediately parts of their face were bruised.
Right.
And I thought it was a very interesting. I thought it was funky and fresh, still very scary. Um, yeah, so I really liked that visually.
I agree with you because like when I watch possession movies, I find it lame when it's just like the eyes went black or the eyes went white or like whatever. That feels very flat to me in a possession sense. But
Mhm.
like this made like this type of makeup and that kind of stuff that they did made the possession feel like much more physical and like visceral.
Yeah,
Like and like she says it's exhilarating, but it looks like it hurts, you know what I mean? And like
and it might. She personally like okay, so my grandfather, my late grandfather, uh he was like an exorcist in the Spanish Pentecostal church, which is a wild thing to say, but like
I'm about to say, hold up, wait, what?
that's a lot.
it's a wild thing to say. There's a lot of stories that have been passed around in the family, like around the bonfire, that are absolutely fucking terrifying. And here I am with a horror podcast, but there's a reason I don't fuck with possession movies. Let's leave it there. But that being said, my they say, I say they, like my family and things like that, they say that, grief and loss, like tragedy that you leave unhealed, basically leaves a hole in your heart and your soul for
Mhm.
entities to get into. And she has a deep, unhealed wound inside of her
Mhm.
from like her mother's death left. And there's all this mystery about, did she really kill herself, did she not? And even though, I think the biggest thing that maybe people miss right away is that it's grief, but her mom didn't just die. It's been 2 years. So
Right.
she's been going through this for 2 years, and there has been no closure, no communication with her father about it. No, so this wound is just festering. And so she's probably looking for that exact type of pain. It's something new. It's a new pain. It's
Mhm.
something different for her to feel. So,
Yeah.
you know, and I think
That's
that it's otherworldly. It's
mm,
crazy to me that this possession thing is coming in the form of a teen fad, like eating Tide Pods. This possession hand.
it gives
Yeah.
me like very like teenage like choking challenge. Like you think
Yes.
they're just like having like a little funsy time at a party, and it's like, no, mom, we're actually talking to demons. Like,
Yeah. And
yeah.
she was susceptible. I mean, she was almost, like an addict, which people who are experiencing grief are more susceptible to addiction too. So it seemed like, she was really hitting it.
No,
Yeah.
I think that came to I understood it because like I've been through some of that kind of stuff, and like when she was talking to the kid about how it felt, and it's like how she enjoyed how it felt like she was in the passenger seat and like
Yes.
she didn't have control over anything.
Yeah.
That made sense why she was addicted to it, because like that you don't want to be in your body. You don't want to be dealing with any of that stuff when you're like sad and life sucks. Like.
Even when you're not, it is hard being alive. It's
Yeah.
hard, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And for teenagers, like, I mean, it's been a while since I've been a teenager, but I vividly remember, I didn't have, like, I had some really tough moments, and it
Mhm.
is nice not to have to just do, like, to just not have to fucking do it.
Right. So I think it's like her like definitely like heroin for her once she figures out what it actually feels like, and then is chasing whatever she thinks she sees and feels at that time. But then it gets way more intense when like the kid gets involved and
Sure.
she
So
doesn't let
I
it
wanna
go.
I wanna bring it around to like where the story starts. Okay, bring it around
Mhm.
town like SpongeBob
Around.
Mhm.
said. um, right. Okay. So it starts on the 2 year anniversary of her mom's passing.
Mhm.
Uh, I didn't realize people like have events like that to like celebrate, but it kind of feels like it's trying to paint her friend Jade as like a bad friend for not being there. And then you have to remember that it's been 2 years, and while she hasn't moved on from that, the other people in her life have, and it feels like she's trying to stay stuck in that place. And
Mhm.
you see that she has a really great relationship with Jade's little brother Riley. I remember
Mhm.
all the names in this movie.
Right.
Because Jade forgets to pick him up for school, and she's there. So one thing though, I'm immediately like shutting that shit down, because she doesn't have siblings. She's an only child, and her
Right.
friend, like, her relationship with her brother is, that's their business.
Right.
I have a
Mhm.
brother. That's their business. So I think when I first watched it, I was kind of like, Jade's kind of a shitty friend. But Mia immediately proves that she's not shit. She's very jealous of Jade's boyfriend, Daniel, because, oh, that was my boyfriend first. And she's like, bitch, you held hands in the third grade one time.
Right.
Hello.
Does that count? It doesn't count. Like,
When the most behind Daniel.
right.
And for Daniel, respectfully, but for Daniel, who
Yeah.
doesn't even
Him?
And then like that's their business. That's their if she wants to be with a boy for 3 months in high school, I didn't date because like what's the fucking point? What was the point for me? There didn't seem to be one, so I just didn't. But like if she wants to be in a relationship with a boy for 3 months and like not have it based on physicality, good for her. You
Right.
know?
Like, why are you judging her and saying that it's weird? And it's like, it's obvious that you want him. And I don't know if it's just because she's got this like inner need to have the life that Jade has, especially when you start bringing up the fact that her boyfriend was your boyfriend in the third grade. Nobody cares. Like, that's not important.
Yeah. I think Jade saw other people's like healthy boundaries with Mia as them bullying her.
Yeah.
And she wanted to step in and save her and be a good friend to her or whatever. So, you know, she's obviously a nice person, maybe a little too nice.
Yeah.
But I feel like everybody else just had boundaries with Mia. They were just like, she's crazy. She's got some unresolved issues. I don't want to be her friend, you know. Whereas from, I think, Jay's perspective, she was like, come on, guys, her mom died. But it's been 2 years. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right. And so she has that relationship with Mia, and Mia still was not shit to her. Like
not,
she just wasn't like so beyond to the point where like it really pisses me off. So then when this challenge comes into play, this challenge is crazy. First of all, I said it on TikTok. I will be damned if I let teenagers bully me into getting possessed. Fuck y'all.
I'm not coming to the party. Like, fuck you. I'm not doing this. Like, they're like, oh, it's only like a little bit. It'll be fine.
No,
I don't fucks with ghosts or demons. I'm
I
not touching
don't.
that thing. I'm not coming to your party. It's weird that you're doing this in the first place. And I'm gonna call your mom because what the fuck?
Right, I'm
Like,
snitching. I literally in high school I went to a slumber party with my friends and they wanted to get a Ouija board out and I said, I will fucking walk home. You don't do it. I will walk the fuck home.
but it's just like no, none of their parent like, and they're posting these videos. So it's like no one's like, what the hell?
The videos are awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. The videos are gnarly. When you think about like the quickness with which some of these TikTok trends spread and these teenagers are doing the dumbest shit ever
Mhm.
to impress their friends, it is I thought it was so fresh to be like, let's do it, but with
Mhm.
possession.
I get that. It's just, yeah, it's weird to me because, like, I don't know. It's just not something I would partake in. But again, I wasn't like the kid who went to parties in high school anyway. I was the kid who stayed at home. But, like, if this was the party, I certainly wouldn't freaking be there. Like, I don't need to be part of that.
Mel, what kind of teenager were you?
what kind of teenager was I? I was kind of like a little bit of both. I mean, a little bit of everything, honestly. So I was a nerd. I did get a little bit of bullied, gay bullied until like high school. And then I had a growth spurt and I was like super fine all of a sudden. So, and nobody wanted to fight me because I had hands, you know? So,
Yeah.
like, I was a little bit of a jock and a band geek. I don't know, kind of eclectic. I didn't really fit in with, I was definitely country and poor. So
Mm,
there was that part. I got bullied a lot for being poor and gay and
mm,
masculine. So just like pick one.
Thing
So
bully people
basically,
about.
basically the nerd who got bullied until I got big and nobody wanted to fight me. And then I was taking people's girlfriends.
Oh my God, what a dream. You're such a dream, Mel. How
I
did we
was in the cusp too because I was a band kid, but I was also like a cheerleader. So it's like I was in the middle, but I was also like awkward on my own and like my parents were super strict. So it's not like I got to go and do any of the fun
Yeah.
stuff.
So I guess the real question is, Mel, would you have ended up getting possessed?
Okay, no, I did not fuck with those kind of things. I got invited to a few Ouija board type, you know, light as a feather, stiff as a board things. And my mother is biracial as me. She's part indigenous, you know, her father's an indigenous person. We don't fuck with that. Like,
Period.
hell, no. I mean, she always told me, like, if you feel a spirit, like, trust yourself, trust your
Yes.
instinct. Like, don't gaslight yourself. Like, there's probably something there. And if it feels like malignant, protect yourself. Like, get out of there. Like,
Period.
say it out. Don't fuck with me, spirit, and like leave the room. So, like, definitely no, I would not have been there. Would not have
Okay.
been.
I
Would
love
not
that
have
for
liked
you.
the, you know.
Yeah. I feel like if Mia had had a sibling, maybe this wouldn't have happened to her.
Fair enough. And it's like I was like a Wiccan or whatever in like high school and middle school. I still am. I'm just not like really good at practicing it. But like even like the first rule is like don't let bad shit into your body. Like don't
Right.
purposefully it's like inviting the fae into your house. Like don't do it. It's gonna go poorly.
I think it's a very like kind of common sense rule, but you know, I feel like a lot of people have the potential to get to a point in their life where they're just like, fuck it. And Mia, even though she was very young, she got there. So she's, you know, fucking shitty about Daniel. She's also shitty with Riley. It's one thing for her to do this to herself, but shit gets crazy when they decide to bring the party to Jade's house, right? So the first thing was Daniel possessed Daniel making out with Cookie,
The
like the
dog.
stinky dog, which also they gave Cookie like a lot of grief about being stinky and like don't talk to my girl like that, just give her a bath.
Right,
Don't
she's your dog.
yeah,
Like okay. But yeah, so it starts the day like, oh my God. That was the moment where I was like, fuck you, Steph. Like, Jesus Christ.
like
Because
that.
it doesn't start with him hanging out with the dog. It starts with this horny ghost taking over his body and like
Yeah, but
really
I
gross.
think that it has a lot to do with him being overtly Christian and repressed.
Yeah.
So like
I
you
get that. It was just really uncomfortable. And then it kept getting more uncomfortable. And I'm like, you guys are just recording this poor boy making out with a dog. And it's just like, somebody do something. Like, do something.
yeah.
It
They
was a
were
lot.
spirits, but the spirits were privy to like everything about them too, and they were manipulating that, which I guess kind of brings me to a question. Do you guys think that was really her mom?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, right. Yeah.
No.
No, I don't think it was her mom. Do you think her mom killed herself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
We're in agreement. I think so too.
Mom
Yeah. That wasn't
left
her mom.
suicide. No.
Because it's very clear that the ghosts are able to, like, when she says she's in the passenger seat, it's clear they have access to whatever's going on up here.
Right.
So
But
it's super
also,
easy.
like, yes, all of that, like, all of it. Even if you, any exorcism movie that you watch, they tell you that demons are liars, spirits are liars, you know. And from the ending of this movie, you know that where they are, these spirits are, it's a dark and dismal place, and they are desperate to feel something, anything. They'll do anything. And so, I mean, they just wanted her. And it's very clear to be on the outside. I mean, it's clear to be really an adult looking at
Mhm.
this stuff and being like, oh, babies, no, like your hurt is being manipulated for the cause of the
Mhm.
spirits. And I
Mhm.
I really hate to sound insensitive because I've never lost my mother, but I have lost like an ungodly amount of family members and a lot of times like in close proximity of each other, and it is a horrendous feeling. um but maybe it's because I watch too many fucking horror movies. I don't know. I just can't see like me allowing my grief to be to the detriment of others. I just can't see that being a thing. And honestly, if my mom passed away, because she's gonna live forever, and her spirit came back to me, there's a problem. There's a
Mhm.
problem. Okay, this
Right.
is not right. It's a problem, and we're
It
shutting it down.
starts with all of them, like it's the teenage invincibility complex. Like none of them ever think anything bad is ever going to happen to them,
Which
even
is
though we've seen in the
crazy.
beginning of the movie something very bad happened for them to even have this in the first place. But nobody brings that up. They just keep doing their weird little parties. um, but yeah, and then so they get Riley like into it, and Jade didn't want that to happen, and Jade is his sister, so
Jada's
her
his
say so
sister.
should have been the say so.
It was in Jade's house.
Right.
Okay. And I get Riley, like, he, I mean, he wants to be part of the crowd. He's seeing them doing it repeatedly. It was all of their responsibility to just like they wanted to come over just for Daniel to do it. They should have let him licking Cookie aggressively in the mouth, call it a day, and get gone. The
Mhm.
girl Haley, she had a party to go to anyway. They only had an hour, so why wouldn't they? And it doesn't seem like they even like each other, like they enjoy being around each other. So they should have all just called it a day. But
Right.
Mia has this thing where she just wants everybody, like she wants Riley to like her more than his sister, and lets him
Mhm.
do it and says only do it for 50 seconds, and they end up going over because a spirit wants to masquerade as her mother.
Mhm.
Irresponsible.
It is
Yeah.
irresponsible. It's a 2 whole minutes when the whole reel cap is what, 90 seconds?
Yep.
But they lowered it because he was a kid. And I'm just like, I wouldn't have let, like, not that you teenagers should be doing this, but a child, like, no.
Maybe.
I was with Jade 100% on that one. Like, they should not be doing this. The fact that you even brought him around it is weird. He should have been elsewhere, but like, not letting him do it makes sense to me. And Mia stepping in and letting him do it anyway once Jade left the room was fucked up. Like, why would you do that?
I mean, and doing it for a less amount of time, that's crazy. Like, why make up arbitrary rules for something you can't even explain? You don't even know how this is happening. How can you make rules for it? I mean,
Nobody even
And
knows
like
what
by
it
this
means.
point, she's seeing stuff already. So it's like, you know, that this like might not be that good. I get that you want to share the high with everyone, but maybe not the kid. Like, as eager as he is to do it, no, absolutely the fuck not. And I'm with Jade. Like, you shouldn't have let him do it because now this boy is taken over by God knows what. And
Yes.
the most grisly, like, what,
His
30
scene,
seconds of my life?
okay, his scene I think is the gnarliest scene. Everything to do with him, really, honestly,
Mhm.
past this point, craziest of the entire movie. Like it
Yeah.
is. It was the scariest thing to me. I literally gasped in the movie theater and like hugged my knees to myself sitting in the seat like this. Like I couldn't even believe what I just because it literally went from 0 to 1 million.
Yeah, it was like the mom, and then out of it's like the first whack of his face into the table got me, and I was like, why is no one doing anything? Like, and they're just letting it happen, and then it
I
just
can
keeps going.
understand
Hmm.
the first time he did it, not knowing what the fuck was happening and not knowing what to do, and then the chair flew across the room and
Yeah.
hit the window, and then you're like, double, what the fuck is happening right now?
Hmm.
And then Jade comes in, and to stop it, she puts her hand between him and like the fireplace and damn near broke her hand with
Well,
his
she saved
face.
his life, so
But he tries to pop his eyeball out of his face.
yeah. I hated that. That was nasty and really fucked up. And like just the repeated like compulsion of banging and like you just want him to wake up and he can't do anything about it felt like just I felt trapped in that scene. I was like, I don't like this at all.
It was worse than that scene in Hereditary where the
Mhm.
son smashed his face on the thing in the middle of the
oh yeah.
class. Yeah, that
So
scared the shit out of
brutal.
me.
And that made me just really pissed at Mia because, like, why would you let him do this? And then it's like you go to the hospital and you wonder why Jade doesn't fucking want you there and you're mad about it. And
Also hard as fuck. How do you explain that to your mother?
you
How?
can't, especially when your mom is already kind of a mean person and thinks you're up to something constantly,
I
which
didn't
clearly,
think the mom was mean. I thought that she was appropriately aggressive.
right.
Yeah,
Fair
it's
enough.
definitely up to something.
Right.
Yes, they were being very suspicious. And just because it's not like the I never would have fucking expected you guys were gonna have like a mummified medium's hand and summoning demons in my house. You're so fucking grounded. Like what?
I guess, yeah, how would you explain it other than video? Because it's like, how do you explain it to the
God. There was a
like
video.
how do you explain it to the cops? None of us did this to him. He did this to himself, technically, but
There had been no video, they all would have been fucked.
right. Fair enough.
Mm.
It's just
Um,
it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch any scene with Riley after that point because it was just bad. It was just all bad.
I like love him. I don't know. All of a sudden, I was like feeling very protective over him, and he's so helpless moving forward. Like every time he comes to, he tries to kill himself and he like bit his sister and he was smashing his head against the tiles in the bathroom shower. It's horrific. Like it's
Yeah.
horrifying. There's so
Mhm.
much blood and he's like gargling like an old man and like it's scary.
A lot. And like, but that's not enough to stop Mia from fucking around with this stuff.
True. I don't know how he has survived it, honestly. That looked like a lot of head trauma, but
Mhm.
yeah. Mia was not as concerned with intervening or doing something that didn't put more people at risk and put the spotlight on her.
She was
Mhm.
concerned about sucking Daniel's toes.
Um,
I don't want to talk about the toes. That was so that I was just like,
Out of pocket.
I
But I'm just saying, when Jade said, you know, you put my brother in hospital and then you slept with my boyfriend, like, what the fuck, you fucking bitch? Like, what's
right.
wrong with you?
To
and
be
sucked his.
fair, he didn't have to go over there.
No,
So
he didn't. But at the same time, he's just a stupid, you know, sheltered Christian boy who, when she says she puts the reassurance to him, we're just friends. It's not like that, and you can't go home. It's fine. And then he wakes up with her sucking his toes. How are you going to explain that to your girlfriend, Sadie? How?
I don't know
Exactly.
what's fair. I just like
How?
that scene was so unsettling because it's like that old crusty lady in the
She
corner.
was crusty. Her hair was crusted.
Yeah,
Ugh.
old crusty, and I think it was the same horny ghost that had already fucked with Daniel. That was the one that was making out with the dog or whatever. But
Or
you just
whatever.
can you imagine waking up from a deep fucking sleep to find someone just sucking on your toes?
I would have kicked
Respectfully,
the shit out of her.
that's what I'm saying. Respectfully, I would kick that bitch in her teeth. What are you doing?
Right in her
I trust
teeth.
you. You're a betrayer.
And
And
she wasn't just sucking them; she was just
it
she
was like
was
she'd
having
never eaten a meal before in her
right.
life.
She was having
She
a
had
5-course meal
first.
on the toes. Like,
I don't think I could fit a man's foot in my mouth that
I'm
far.
not willing to try.
she was getting it. I'm just saying. And just like, then she's like, it wasn't me. And I'm like, bitch, I don't care if it wasn't. I'm still leaving. That is so gross and
And
weird.
she said that with a guilty face. She's like, it wasn't me.
Like, I wasn't flossing with your toenails. It wasn't me, even though we're the only two people in this room.
Like
Yeah.
you can tell when she wakes up, she was obviously possessed or some, whatever the fuck is going on. But even then, like she's mad because he's walking. Like I'm still leaving. I'm still leaving the room. This is gross and weird, and I don't like it. hmm
I mean, okay, it just gets increasingly out of pocket towards the end of
hmm
the movie because the ending is she very much thinks that she has everything under control and she wants to keep trying things to save him. But at no point does she have anything under control because literally the instant that she went over on her time, it was over for her. That spirit
hmm
was out to manipulate her until it got her, and she had to make the ultimate decision at the end if she was going to sacrifice him or herself. But at the end of the day, even if she had killed him, they would have got her too.
Yeah, and I think the thing is like she really wants to believe it's her mom, but it's like your dad is telling you. You asked him to tell the truth, and he's telling you what happened, and you still refuse to believe
Stabbed him
him.
in the neck with
Yeah.
silver.
And you still think this ghost is your mom when it's clearly not the case, and like you're being fucked with. And at the end, I wonder if she jumped or if Jade pushed her because that was never clear.
I think she jumped.
Yeah, I
hmm
think she threw herself in front of the car.
She probably
Yeah.
had like a moment of like clarity, just like the tiniest, briefest window, and just like yeeted.
Which
Like,
I get because like how do you go back? You just stabbed your dad in the neck
no,
and
there's
you're
nothing for her. It's jail
yeah,
or eat yourself.
yeah, exactly. Fair enough. It's
Prison.
just how do you believe this is your mom? Like all the weird stuff that's going on top of that, and then the stuff that it's clearly asking you to do, and now it's trying to convince you that like your dad isn't real. Like,
I can see how. We've seen a lot, we've watched a lot of movies. You
Mhm.
know, I can see how, but it just, you know, not for me. I guess I'm just too paranoid of a person, or at least not for an extended period of time. I can understand moments where I'm like, and then I'd be like,
I think my
I can
call would have been after they told what happened to the original owners of the hand. Like, okay, uh, maybe we shouldn't be fucking with this.
Right. Yeah. I could see how it happened because I mean, there's a state of grief that's almost like deliriousness,
Yeah,
really it's hard to be super cognitive. So I could see how it happened, but I can't see how it went so far.
so far. She's
And
gonna
it's
Yeah.
like
murder that
with the
place.
friends that knew what was going on, like I would have just like had her like
They
institutionalized.
were
Like she's
not
clearly
friends though. They literally were out for themselves. They watched the situation with the original men where this man stabbed his brother and then himself in the face with a big butcher's knife, okay?
Mhm,
They watched that and still passed this hand around
fair
and
enough.
videotaped it. Those are not friends.
Mm. I don't know. I feel like
Different
Jade
crowd.
could have told her dad what was going on or
She wasn't
something.
even talking to her dad about regular things, let alone demon things.
No, I'm saying Jade could have told her
Oh,
dad
Jade.
to
Yeah,
have her
well,
dad do something. Like,
I feel like
Yeah.
as a teenager, I wouldn't have gone to my friend's parents. As an adult, yes, absolutely. We need to talk
fair
about
enough.
she's unhinged and ruining my life.
Right. I don't know. I just feel like after she damn near got my brother murdered because she thought she could just make up the rules after I said no, I would have been like, but something's got to give, girly pop. Like,
Well, I
why
don't
would
think
you
it's
think
a
it's
cultural thing
okay?
because Jade is white. But if
Hmm.
it had been my family, my mom would have handled her.
Hmm.
I'm just
Like,
saying.
get out of my house, don't ever come back here again. And
She
like,
would have shown up with the chancleta, a belt, something.
mhm.
You better stay the fuck away from my family, or you know,
It's just kind of
something's
sad
gonna happen.
because it's like she's clearly searching to be fulfilled by something, and it's not gonna be Jade, it's not gonna be Daniel, even though she keeps having her weird little sex fantasies about him.
I don't even think that has anything to do with Daniel. It has to
Fair
do with
enough.
Jade.
It has to
Right.
do, yeah. And then there's the whole like not knowing if her mom killed herself, but then she finally figures that out. But she's still empty as shit, and it's like sad at the end because yeah, she sacrificed herself for Riley, but like now she's stuck in that like endless nothingness that she didn't want to be in.
A lot of toxic people have shitty pasts and have things that have happened to them too. I mean, she's obviously a black hole. Like that void can't be filled. So I kind of like that though, the black friend being the dangerous one in a different way, in an emotional,
Mhm.
versus, everybody tuck your purse in your chain, the black friend's coming over. So I kind of like that spin on it. How everybody has to do so much emotional labor for their black friend.
Yeah, I
It
do
was
really love that. I really like love that about this movie. So even though Mia is insufferable, it doesn't ruin the movie. It doesn't detract from the movie. It actually adds to the movie, and I'm just so impressed. Like I just
Yeah, that's a lot of layers on that because it's like yeah, you're used to the strong black friend or like the strong black lead who's always like taking charge of stuff or whatever. But like with Mia, it's like she's toxic as shit and people are just trying to like deal with that.
trying to
But her
survive Mia.
toxicity ends up being her downfall and fucking up other people's lives. And that's pretty fucked up.
they're still inviting her to the party. They're like, come on, guys, her mom died. Like they're still trying to do the labor to have her around.
Even she's like, "Oh, I'm being weird," and Jade's like, "You're not being weird."
Yeah,
And I know.
Like you are. You're just sitting here being quiet, sipping on your drink, just
Can I
twitching
tell
in the
you
corner.
one
happy.
thing I wish wasn't a thing about this movie? Due to the success, they almost immediately announced that there was going to be a sequel. I would have loved for that not to be a thing. It felt very good and self-contained as a one and done, and I would have loved for them to go a different direction.
Yeah, I don't think this calls for a sequel. I feel like it's a pretty well-rounded, wrapped up situation. What would you add to that? Like Mia's now trying to get out of the hole. I don't care. Like she kind of deserves to be there, so leave her. Hmm.
It would have to be one of those where it just picks up with a whole new group of people
Yes,
and washed up on a shore or something like that.
has to be new cast.
Well,
Like,
that's how it ends, right? Because it's like in fucking Greece or something. Like,
yeah, she could show up anywhere. So
but that also makes me wonder if it's the same hand or if there are like multiple avenues for this. Like, is there more than one hand?
we don't know.
No, I like that part of the mystery. Like the whole hand thing is never really kind of explained, but you get it enough to be like, I'm not fucking with it. Like I don't need you to explain it to me. I just need you to stop touching it. Like stop it. And then her argument to like save Riley is like, well, did we blow out the candle? I'm like, girl, it's too late for that.
The door's wide open. It got kicked in. Let's
Right.
move
There is
along.
no more door. It is just you and your black hole body just ruining lives at this point. Like the candle doesn't matter. We could just throw that in the trash. It's gone.
There's that part. People's lives are getting legitimately ruined and everybody's just watching. That was like the scariest part of this movie for me, the kind of like bystander feeling. Everybody's got their phones out filming
Yeah.
and just watching while people's lives are getting ruined. People are nearly dead or dying. I mean,
Yeah.
that is the scariest part. But I think that's also, I mean, it's a relative play on society today. So
Unfortunately.
It is. Yeah, definitely. Because it's like kids or people die during these challenges, but like the video still gets posted. People still watch it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like you're consuming it and it's weird. It's not weird, but it's understandable. But it makes it harder when it's like those people are also still standing in the same room with you watching this happen. Like
Watching you get
that's
licked in the mouth by Cookie.
right. Or like the beginning of the movie when the brothers like put your cameras away, clearly something's wrong with him and they're still filming him. And while he's distracted trying to get them to stop filming him, that's when he gets stabbed. And now all of a sudden it's serious and everyone cares.
Yeah. Really quick, let's rate her.
I gave this a 4.5-ish, I want to say, just because
Literally
like
giving it 4.5. I'm literally giving it 4.5. Literally.
I'm at 4 just because I felt like, I typically like a scary movie that has more mature themes, a little bit more sex and titties and stuff. So for that reason,
mhm. I
I'm
like
gonna.
this because it got its point across without having to do any of that, which is why I gave it a 4.5. And it's
Sometimes
also the unlikable character trope. Love that. And also just like I did not know where this movie was going. And the fact that like once it was over, I just had to sit on my couch for like a minute and be like,
what the
what?
fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, I
Stephanie.
had to digest. And I was just like, okay, I actually really like that. And again, just shout out to A24. Like Jesus Christ, every time.
But you can find this podcast on the interweb at ghostinthemagazine.site or on Twitter at GITM Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Witchx Pudding.
You can find me at Hedda_Mel.
By me, it's ADB.
Oh my god, amazing. Okay, bye.